Okay, today is the last Sunday of Epiphany. And the last Sunday is the Sunday of Transfiguration. In this time, I would like to invite you for going with me to Honduras. Are you ready for going with me and my family? It's a beautiful place. When I came here, I think my first time in here was in 2008, I think. I was appointed in Las Vegas, working with Hispanic ministry there. Well, I tried to be here for visit Dan Wilson Faith. In that moment, he was a pastor in Forest Grove. When I came here, I fell in love for Oregon. I told my wife, I would like to live in Oregon someday. Why? Well, it's similar to my country. Okay, this is Honduras map. Ese es el mapa de Honduras. Honduras es el centro de América. Honduras is the heart of Central America. It's not too far from here. I don't know why is the reason, because the trip for going to Honduras take a long time, like 24 hours. Well, I think it's that our airport here, PDX, is an international airport. Maybe I need to move to another airport for going to my country. But the last time I take the trip from Portland, the plan was going there Las Vegas, Houston to Florida, El Salvador, Honduras. Oh my goodness. But in the last minutes, the company canceled the flight. Why? And do you know, when you have a lot of connections, it's complicated. Well, one of the reasons, is Las Vegas is snowing. Las Vegas is snowing? It's crazy. We've been living there for 4 years. It's very hot. Well, but one of the problems with Las Vegas is a beautiful place for visit, not for live. For visit as well, but the live is complicated. When in Las Vegas is 1 inch, the snow, they close the airport. Why? Well, they don't have equipment for remove the snow in the airport. I think this is the reason. Okay, then the last decision, when my wife was trying to buy another ticket in the airport for going directly to Portland and Florida. Well, I find one ticket with Delta Airlines and take the flight from Portland to Atlanta, Florida, for try to catch the next connection. It was a great trip. Very tired, Rosie, Are you feeling tired now? Only one. But it's great. Well, this is my country. We have borders in the east side with Nicaragua, country of Fernando and Eddie. Honduras tiene fronteras con Nicaragua en el este, país de Eric y Fernando. Y en el oeste, en the west side, con El Salvador y Guatemala. Tenemos fronteras con El Salvador. We have front borders in the west side with El Salvador and Guatemala. And the north is Caribbean Ocean. It's a beautiful place for visit. If you have time Sunday, si usted tiene tiempo algún día, I would like to invite to go to the Atlantic Ocean. Warm water, white sands, beautiful place for take some vacation. And the south is with Pacific Ocean. We have church access to that one. Okay, let me continue with my sermon. This is only story. Okay, prepare your bags. We are leaving in a few minutes. All right? Good. Oh my God. I don't know, maybe you have ever had an amazing and good experience that you never wanted to end. Do you remember something? I had several. A week ago, we returned from our trip to Honduras. No sé si usted ha tenido alguna experiencia alguna vez de esas que no quisiera que terminaran nunca. La semana pasada nosotros regresamos de Honduras. To visit our son and celebrate the birthday of our grandson, Alessio. Fuimos para estar con nuestro nieto y celebrar el cuarto año, 4 years old of Alessio. Do you know, they have been in Honduras like a year, like a 15 months now, waiting for the next steps in the immigration for coming back. It's crazy. I remember when I get my green card, only take like 3 or 4 months. 3 or 4 months, ¿no? Recuerdo que cuando nosotros tomamos nuestra green card, nuestra tarjeta verde, solo nos llevó como 3 meses. Well, that was before the pandemic. Eso fue antes de la pandemia. Ahora es complicadísimo. It's a lot. And Joe is waiting now. Please pray for him. When we been there, he was very anxious. And I talked with him. Joe, try to continue studying now. Take time for that. No, it's your problem. The problem is the process is so long now. We hope Joe coming back maybe in 4 months. Esperamos que Joel venga en unos 4 meses aquí. Pero el proceso ha tomado mucho tiempo. After the birthday party, we decide to take a trip full of meanings for the family. The Lenca Road. I said full of meaning since this route includes visit to tourist places, visit to Maya Lenca spiritual centers. Dije que este viaje fue un viaje de mucho significado para mi familia. Decidimos hacer la ruta Lenca para visitar lugares turísticos, pero lugares con mucho significado espiritual, especialmente para mi familia. I am a mestizo. It's very clear, no? Well, I told that because part of my trip in this country, I have some friend who is lawyer, and he's working with me because I have some small property in my country. All the time when we visit Honduras, I try to have a meet with him. And he asked me about the discrimination and racism in USA. Well, he told me, well, you are white here. Yes, I am a privileged people here. It depends the area where you are. Because in my country, you can find black people, indigenous people, mestizo people like me, maybe the majority, and white people. But for most of the people, I am white in my country. This is the reason because I am talking about that. Depending which area you are, you will be see a privilege of people who suffer some discrimination. And for me, that is very clear. Y decía que a veces uno, dependiendo de dónde está, uno puede sentir que pertenece al grupo privilegiado o a un grupo que sufre la marginación. Well, I am a mestizo. Let me try to continue with my sermon. And I come from Maya Lenca. Lenca is a people of the Maya tradition. I am Maya Lencan, roots through my mother's family. My grandmother was a Lenca. I forget to include some picture of my grandmother here. I have a lot. I remember her. My grandmother was Lenca, and one of her treasures was her memories linked to her indigenous spirituality. From my father's family, I come from a family with strong Spanish root. Coffee growers. Hey, you can see different kind of coffee, you know? This is the process for making coffee in my country. This is the end of coffee, right? This is a black coffee ground before to go into the be born. This is like a grapes. Okay, I remember that because I grew in a farming with my family doing this. From my father's family, I come from for great strong Spanish roots and coffee growers. So taking this trip with my son, my grandson, my daughter-in-law, and my wife was a unique experience of reunion. And an exceptional opportunity to share with them the stories that our grandmothers always told me, and encourage them to continue sharing this tradition with their own families. Can you put the map again, Perry? Original, I am from here, Santa Barbara. My grandmother family live here. This is Lempira, our trip. This area of sanctuaries. It's between the border and El Salvador and Honduras. Beautiful places. A lot of sanctuaries there. Connect with indigenous traditions. I am from here, for this area. I am trying to visit these places with my family and try to stop in some place and explain to them what means this place for our family. But I was remember the stories of my grandmother. And encourage them to continue sharing this tradition with their own families. The Lenca route included this time going through Gracias Lempira, a community that I hear my grandmother mentions more than once. The city is in the road that they took every year from Ilama, the little town of my grandmother was Ilama. It's an indigenous name. I don't remember what it means. Ilama Santa Barbara, the town of my maternal family. Until reaching La Campa is another place, is here in Gracia. They visit all years to move here, from here to here. All years. And the city is on the road she took every year from Ilama Santa Barbara, the town of my maternal family, until reaching La Campa, one of the most important Lenca sanctuaries at the time. The trek lasted 3 years. 3 days. 3 years is crazy. 3 days and 3 nights walking over the mountains. Walking over the mountains, I am talking about the first, second, third decades of the last century. When we did not have any type of transport for rapid mobilization, all the time they walk along for the mountain. We in the Lent, we prepare in my home, in my tradition, tamales de viaje. It's a little similar to Mexican tamales, but it's big, more big than tamales. It's the same, but this tamal is coming with beans and egg. They put inside but the big, it's like here, it's like a tube. And they use that for eat during the way. This is the name tamale de viaje. And the indigenous people, Lenca, when they walk during the mountain, around the mountain valleys, they stop for sleep and make a fire and try to cook and eat tamale de viaje. What interesting, because they did tamales because tamal is not bad for long time, long days. And they take 6 days in the around trip. I remember the stories of my grandma. Walking in the mountains. For be in La Campa 2 or 3 days. After the celebration, they're coming back. Walking to return to her home. Before the pandemic, in 2018, I had a plan for doing this walk. Means a lot for my family. It's a beautiful place. Yeah, I would like to do someday this walk. And that day, the celebration in La Campa, a lot of people coming from different places. But now they are using bus, so this is better now. But there are some people who practice walking around the mountains. It's a beautiful story. And I talk the whole stories with my son and my family durante estábamos manejando. During the trip, I told to them all stories that I remember of my grandma. I hope my family appreciate these beautiful stories. When you visit these places, you find there a positive energy, peace, tranquility. They are epiphany places, meeting places of revelation, of rest from which you do not want to leave. You would like to stay and live there. The whole environment invites spirituality. It's like the experience of transfiguration. Today's first readings tells of 3 disciples who were with Jesus on a high mountain. On a high mountain, suddenly Jesus began to change. His face shone like the sun. His clothes became white as light. Prophets appeared on each side of him. And a voice was heard from heaven, the voice of his Father, who said, "This is my beloved Son, this is my Son, the Son of God." This experience that the 3 disciples had with their Lord is inexplicable. It's inexplicable, an epiphany, a revelation. Esta experiencia, la primera lectura de hoy de Pedro, nos habla de esos 3 discípulos que están en la montaña con Jesús. Y de repente Jesús brilla. Su rostro brilla. Su ropa brilla, es blanca y brillosa. Y ven Pedro, los discípulos, 2 personajes al lado de Jesús, platicando con Jesús. ¿Quiénes eran? Moisés y Elías. Remember? Okay. Abraham y Moisés, ¿no? Abraham and Moses beside to Jesus. But this is a beautiful vision. This is a beautiful revelation for them. Es una maravillosa revelación para ellos. Es inexplicable. Es una epifanía. Peter never ever forgot what happened there. This changed his life. It was a very significant event for him. Fue una experiencia maravillosa para Pedro, para nunca olvidar. It is evident because Peter wrote about what happened on the mountain and sent what he wrote to a young congregation to read. y quiso registrar aquella experiencia para enviársela a una pequeña congregación. We find Peter's testimony in the second biblical reading for this Sunday, in 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 16 to 21. It was almost at the end of his life, shortly before his death, that Peter shared again his memory of the moment of that Epiphany on the holy mountain with Jesus. And he did it to give hope to the congregation and to strengthen their faith. Pedro escribió esto para animar la esperanza de sus congregaciones, traerles fortaleza. Well, I have the question for the continued reflection. Maybe we can reflection today, working coffee from Honduras. I have coffee from Honduras. And this time, I came with a filter. We have coffee from Honduras. Try to test that. When I was there, I will remember your faces. I would like to surprise my congregation with a little cup of coffee from the indigenous area. Well, one of the problems the last time, I forget to come here with a special filter because it's very finest, complicated for our machines. But today we have the opportunity to continue this conversation in front of a cup of coffee from Honduras, from the East area, indigenous, for the Lenca area. Okay. The question for continued reflection, have you had an experience in which you left the presence of God in a special way? La pregunta es para continuar con la reflexión, que espero que lo hagamos hoy tomando una tacita de café con los hermanos de Nicaragua, right? Y con Pedro de Guatemala que está allá con nosotros. Podemos reflexionar sobre estas preguntas. Si hemos tenido una experiencia de la presencia de Dios de una manera especial en nuestras vidas. The second question, please. When did God surprise you with His grace? ¿Cuándo te sorprendió Dios con su gracia? Did God meet you in the middle of your life and communicate with you? ¿Alguna vez has sentido a Dios comunicándote contigo? Did He reveal anything to you? ¿Te ha Dios revelado algo alguna vez? Or simply, when did faith awaken in you? Let me finish. Déjeme terminar. La epifanía, the epiphanies that we have had, even if they have only been brief moments of revelation and clarity, are important for our pilgrimage in faith, because there are also times when it seems that God does not speak. When it feels like God is very far away, or when life is so complicated and difficult that we don't know how we are going to go on, or in which direction we should go. Let me translate this in Spanish for our friends. Las epifanías que hayamos tenido, aun cuando solamente hayan sido breves momentos de revelación y claridad, son importantes para nuestro peregrinaje de la fe. Porque también hay tiempos cuando parece que Dios no habla. Cuando se siente que Dios está muy lejos. When God is far away. O cuando la vida es tan complicada y difícil que no sabemos cómo vamos a seguir adelante o en qué dirección debemos ir. When we go through those times in our lives, time of spiritual drought, when we are walking in the desert, it is good to remember the moments of Epiphany that God has given us. Cuando pasamos por esos tiempos en nuestras vidas, tiempos de sequía espiritual en los que estamos caminando en el desierto. Caminando en el desierto es bueno recordar esos momentos de epifanía y recordar que Dios ha estado conmigo. I am pastor for one of the main reasons in my life. One is for my grandmother. She was very Catholic member and continued with the indigenous tradition in my home. In those years, not too much preachers. She was prepared for doing that. And all the time, when I remember my conversation with her, one of the dreams of my mom was, I hope to have some preacher in my family. He had three sons and my mom. But their son wanted to be working with the church. Long time ago, when I came to my home, I'm going to visit my grandmother. She was like I remember her like 94 years old, sitting in the chair. Rack, the sound of the chair. Very nervous. And talk to my grandma. Grandma, I finished my studies in the university. I am ready for be a pastor. For me, it was big the surprise. In this moment, she told me, please, sit with me. I want to pray for you. Because my dream was realized in your life. She put her hands in my head. I remember that very clear. was the benediction that my grandmother was a time of revelation. I feel your face, shining face, very happy. I feel their energy in my life. For that reason, my grandma is part of my life. I told my son that, remember that. My grandma. We are here for your great-great-grandma. It's a dream to my grandma. And I have 3 people serving to God. Jorge, Heun, and me. This is a revelation time. God was involved in my life. Let me try to talk this in Spanish. Cuando mi madre, el sueño de mi abuela, era tener un sacerdote en la familia. De sus 3 hijos, mi abuela tuvo 3 hijos y una hija, mi madre. Pero ninguno de ellos estaba tan interesado en la iglesia. Mi madre estaba una vez meciéndose en la hamaca, meciendo sus 94 años. Yo había terminado mi seminario. Vine con miedo ante mi madre, a mi abuela, a decirle que era pastor. Su rostro cambió, brilló, y puso sus manos sobre mí y me dio la bendición. Esa fue una época, una experiencia de transfiguración, de epifanía para mí. Si hay alguien que ha impactado mi vida, somebody who has impacted my life was my grandma. Si hay alguien que ha impactado mi vida, ha sido mi abuela. This is the reason I want to share this story. Transfiguration story. Epiphany story. I always remember the stories of my grandmother, my identity, and the good times we have had together. For that reason, I would like to live like a Peter in that moment. Thank you.